College football. One of those excuses that we use to dump all of our savings in the cheap wings and beer to watch one of the oldest sports created by man. And for a lot of us, it's that perfect escape for us to just turn our brains off and just enjoy the moment. And it's for everyone to see. You can't escape it. Shit, try leaving for your plans on a Saturday morning before noon and it's chalk, bro, because now you're stuck behind an Ohio State fan.
God, it's always an Ohio State fan. Always.
But something that gets buried by the spotlight is a common problem that ruins most colleges from the inside out. And unfortunately, this affected one of my favorite schools, Michigan State University. Mel Tucker, former Michigan State head coach, was recently caught up in allegedly someone during his time at MSU. And if allegedly a woman wasn't bad enough, the woman that is a victim of these allegations was Brenda Tracy. Brenda Tracy, an activist for actively combating and harassment on college campuses. Come on, dog. This is absolutely despicable behavior to even be accused of. And for both Brenda and Mel, they both released statements reaffirming their side of the story. But what makes this situation worse is that we weren't even supposed to know about it because Brenda wanted to keep the investigation private. And let's move on from this situation for a second. Not to take away from the gravity of this situation, but to show that this one case is a deeply rooted system of corruption in college sports that is not just exclusive to Michigan State football. Larry Nassar, a disgraced sport doctor who also worked at Michigan State University, was convicted of hundreds of women during his time. And he used his position of power to silence and invalidate his victims. Now, hearing that hundreds of young women were to the normal person, you immediately want that person to be locked up, never to be released ever again. Which on February 5th, 2018, he was rightfully charged 125 years without the possibility of parole. However, those 125 years will never compare to the sheer amount of college women's lives that were destroyed by his selfish and depraved acts. Jerry Sandusky, a former assistant head coach at Penn State University, was also accused of over 40 counts of in 2012. And as an update to this already bad situation, he was recently resentenced on his term. Fuck him. For this situation, there were countless amounts of staff and coaches who are aware of Sandusky's actions, which begs the question, why did they let it go on for so long? Why was Sandusky allowed to maintain the status of an assistant college coach for a prestigious football team? And the answer to that is staring us dead in the eyes. Prestige. Michigan State and Penn State are regarded as premier college sports teams, and with this prestige introduces the dynamics that these sick individuals use to silence their victims. Two of these dynamics being money and status of the school. For Sandusky, Tucker, and Nassar to still be working while committing some of these heinous crimes, allegedly, there is an element of covering up and turning a blind eye to these situations to maintain the status quo of the school to still make it look attractive to these recruits. And these college coaches know this, and they will do anything to protect their reputation, because in most cases, that reputation is tied to their money. Nobody plays about their money. For the Sandusky incident, the school president Graham Spaner, school vice president Gary Schultz, and athletic director Tim Curley were well aware of what Jerry Sandusky was doing behind the scenes. It was impossible not to notice such a scandal. And on top of this, they actively hid information, failed to report sexual assault cases, and even lied under oath to protect Sandusky. And why would rational humans make a dumb decision to protect a bad actor like this? And for them, their logic was simple, because their reputation was tied to Sandusky, and their reputation boils down to money. Because knowing an incident like this going public would have utterly destroyed their reputations, so they tried to do everything to cover this up. But they were still arrested. The truth of what they did came out, and their worst nightmare became their lives. One of the larger dynamics that plays into prestige is exploitation. With the introduction of NIL deals, this type of exploitation cannot be used on athletes as often, but it still works its way within the systems. And for some of these recruits, college sports may be their way out of a bad situation, and college coaches will know this. These coaches know that these college recruits will risk anything, so they put them through everything, knowing that these kids have little to no choice. It's either this or go home. For example, the pipelines that these college coaches use to recruit more athletes. The simple pipeline is this. College recruiter goes into a lower income, predominantly black, and offers scholarships en masse. The family signs to go to these colleges, and then they're on the team. It doesn't present itself as a bad system at first until you realize that these college athletes, more often than not, cannot afford an Alabama, or a U of M, or an Oregon. And now that they're on scholarship for the school, They're essentially an employee, but an employee that is not guaranteed to be paid every day, cared for if they're injured, or even the promise of making money once they graduate. And say they are injured, the pipeline is so deep that there's tens of hundreds of recruits waiting to take their place because this is all they dream for too. They've essentially become objects, and whichever object can perform the best and is the most disciplined is the starting player on Saturdays. And even with NIL deals, if you're one of the athletes that can't receive one of these endorsements, the risk just became much bigger for you. You have nothing to fall back on the tragic chance that you do get hurt. College sports is one of my favorite pastimes, and even being a former college athlete myself, I can understand the hype behind it. And I love it. But because I love it, I still have to be critical about the problems that affect college sports. Because I, like many of y'all, want to see it better than ever before. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like on it. It helps your boy out in the algorithm so everybody can see your boy, Pr3dat0r. Also, leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on the status of college sports. Do you feel the same? Do you feel differently? Let me know your thoughts. And subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like this. My channel is full of video essay style content just like this, so if you enjoy it, subscribe. But yeah, man, it's been Pr3dat0r, people. Deuces.